It seems to me that as Catholics in the United States, as a group, we've really lost the art of engagement when we disagree.
A lot of times, people don't have an opportunity to have face-to-face conversations, extended conversations with people with whom they disagree.
It really means breaking first a pattern of personal comfort and having an awkward conversation with someone who we don't really have, at least on the surface, all that much in common with.
We have to take the time to hear what other people are going through so that it becomes, we have to let it affect us.
Could we get in a room and talk to each other?
The famous image that Father Hesburgh had of Notre Dame as being a lighthouse and a crossroads, I think is pretty pertinent here.
It draws so many Catholics of different stripes to it.
This place just has some symbolic importance. There's a way in which it's central to Catholicism in the U.S. in a way that no other place is.
In many ways, Notre Dame is a trendsetter for a lot of Catholic institutions. So the fact that this is a priority is a very hopeful sign.
Catholic America often mimics, I think, the practices of our political life. And it stands out in the degree to which it possesses one important resource to make the rhetoric effective. Vilification of opponents requires a rich, common moral framework. It demands the language of ultimacy. I can only convince you that someone else is evil if you and I agree on what is good and evil, and that what is at stake is of great significance.
We believe in a God who is both love and truth, and so we should really be committed to both of those things together. And I think polarization happens when people get so committed to some small aspect of the truth and they lose sight of the love.
Anything can be polarizing in the church in the United States because it seems that the whole question of polarization has become kind of a cultural marker.
Areas of sexual ethics and gender, sexual orientation, women's roles in the church as areas where people see themselves as outside of the church, or people pushing them outside the church, or on the other side, if they're holding the church positions, they feel vilified by the culture or even by people within the church.
Polarization is in large part a product of so-called media elites, people who talk on TV maybe, and also who write in high-profile and newspaper op-eds and this kind of world.
It's not abortion, it's not birth control, it's not gay and lesbian people, it's not whether we go to war or don't go to war, or how we support the military, or any of those kinds of things. It's that we can't even be in a room where those topics are anywhere near the surface and talk to each other. So that's where I see the problem.
Very early on, we started talking about the metaphor of family and what it might mean to have conversations that are rooted in trust. What it would mean to have conversations where we can completely trust that our conversation partners love us, and how that would change the conversations that we have.
I think it's a very important thing that we try to find some time to hear what other experiences in the life of the church are about and how we might be able to engage in conversations that are constructive, sometimes challenging, but always with a sense of the importance of moving together.
People who pray together and do service together and do these parish life events together, especially through regional, territorial, traditional bound parishes, are less polarized.
If we don't put the parish first, if we don't look at these communities, basic communities where people have contact with Catholicism and where they live out most of their faith life, if we don't see that those communities being vital, alive, with a spiritually compelling message, with a community that people actually want to be a part of, then all of these issues that we argue about don't matter.
Curating unity in diversity can be something done through liturgy. It can be done through music.
There's nothing like a moment of beauty and of prayer to really bring everyone together. And there's something about music that also just goes beyond all boundaries and barriers.
whether it's art or a story or a scripture or an image or an icon. My favorite is the Virgin of Guadalupe. Introducing that to people and inviting them to enter into your story and vice versa, it can be a site of mutual understanding and sort of creating a common ground for people to enter into deeper conversations.
If we can connect the world of art and music, and especially liturgy, and getting the depth of our own connection from the sense of how deeply we can be rooted in the life of God, I think that's the most solid basis for the whole project.
The American Catholic Church has always been a communion of immigrants, and so to say that immigrants will continue to breathe life into the Catholic Church is both almost a banal truism, but also a very hopeful thing.
The church in the United States is undergoing a major cultural, demographic, racial transition. Around the 1950s, about 95% of the Catholic population in the United States was Euro-American white, children of European immigrants and Euro-American families. Today, about 55% of all Catholics in the country under the age of 30 are Hispanic, and actually about 60% plus of all Catholics under the age of 18 are Hispanic. So to that we add a fast-growing population among Asians, which is the fastest-growing group in the Catholic Church, and then immigrants from the Caribbean and also Africa. So literally, what we are facing at this moment is the transformation of Catholicism at all levels.
When we're talking about a large immigrant community from Latin America, from Asia, from Africa, that has a different experience as to how the church works and how the church even works in terms of its own discernments, that there's a different experiences going on that could in fact open up the quality of our own conversation.
In the parish that I belong in New York City, it is continuously coming in with new people and who are bringing different styles of dress and different styles of music and different languages. We're about a 60% Spanish speaking, 40% English speaking, well, and then there's others as well, but roughly something like that. And when we do bilingual liturgies and holy days, I'm always amazed at both how traditionally, devotionally conservative many of the church members are, and yet when you speak to them about their opinions, they're also still New Yorkers and really quite liberal on a lot of other things.
We want to think of a strong church in the United States into the future. We cannot either take for granted the Latino presence or simply ignore their questions and their struggles in many ways in the different neighborhoods and communities where they are. Many people in our communities are so caught up in this big divide, right, left, that we are forgetting that there are circumstances, questions, and issues that are more important, that people are facing. For instance, when we know that more than half of the Hispanic population in the United States faces almost extreme poverty, So the issue, more than being right or left, is about survival.
Our young people, my students, are not breaking down into those categories as neatly as they're pro-life, pro-gay. And the larger ideological spectrum doesn't know what to do with that. But you belong, we're gay. And then they don't know what to do with themselves in the church because they don't belong anywhere in the church.
When I talk to my students, most of them want to love their brothers and sisters, love their parents, even as they disagree with them, right? They've discovered that they disagree with them, that they're different people, but they want to be committed to them. It keeps people in the disagreements rather than having the disagreements turn into a situation where somebody leaves.
I see the young people at Catholic University where I teach that in some ways enjoy a devotional life that's different than mine, frankly. As someone who grew up immediately after Vatican II, was not very grounded in more traditional devotional practices like adoration, and now our young people today are, and I find that really exciting. They're also completely into service in a way that even in my generation we weren't quite as much as, in the Reagan generation. So I see a lot of excitement.
I see the hope not only in the current communities that are out there, but also I see the hope in the immigrant communities that come to the United States with a sense of mission, to inject new life. I see a sense of hope in young families, in young Catholics. I hope that my children will actually take their Catholic identity seriously and continue to build communities and to continue to be witnesses.
What kind of community do we want to make? What kind of community then are we raising our children into? What are we teaching them about what belonging means? Do we belong to communities with people that we really don't like sometimes and that we really disagree with and that make our blood boil? I actually want the church to be a place where I can go to Mass with people who make my blood boil.
Indeed, there is disagreement, there are different perspectives, but there's more than that. What we agree about, what is at the heart of our faith, is much greater than what we disagree about.
Disagreement is not new in the church. It's as old as the apostles, and St. Paul dealt with it in his letters with his communities, and so I'm very hopeful.
I really think spreading beyond these walls and these conversations and inviting other people in to think about a new way of talking to each other.
And when we're allowed to use our powers of reason, to use our powers of criticism in service of the church, I think it's better for everybody.
My big dream would be that the church could lead the way to helping us as Americans do something better with our political situation, that we might actually make the world a better place or something crazy like that.